What's going on, guys? So today's video is going to be interesting. What you are looking at in front of you is, I'm not going to say all of my trailer hitches, at least conventional trailer hitches, but it's certainly the majority of them. And I have quite a few more that are stowed away in different areas as well as on some of the vehicles. But in front of you is a pretty good example of the collection of trailer hitches that I've accumulated over the past several years whenever I do reviews on this stuff. And most of them have been provided to me by the manufacturer directly or by my channel sponsor, etrailer.com. Now, I have a few others, like I have one way over here in the corner. You can see the safe weight distribution. I think I have another B&W hitch in the back here. What you have in front of you here is the B&W Tow and Stow, the 3-ball hitch. This is the one that usually is on my truck. I have the new Gen Y Phantom right here, which is designed to work with the GMC Multi-Pro tailgate, and it also flips around to the back. I have a cheapy, I think it's a Reese little conventional ball hitch that you might pick up at Lowe's or Pep Boys or somewhere like that. I have this bad boy right here, which is a Curt drop hitch. It has the dual balls, 2 and a 2 5/16. I have this one, which was actually sent to me by my good friend Brian over at Brian's Lawn Maintenance, and this is an interesting adjustable hitch that's made out of all anodized aluminum with a stainless steel ball. I have a shank from a WaySafe hitch simply because the current WaySafe hitch that I have, the steel one, is on the truck right now. And then I have one of their aluminum WaySafe hitches as well. And all of these hitches are pretty dang strong. But what I'm going to show you today puts all of these to shame in terms of capacity. So here it is. I know a lot of you guys think I'm maybe a fanboy of a certain brand, but I may now be a fanboy of this one because check this thing out. This is a Bulletproof Hitches hitch. This thing is absolutely insane. Now, there's going to be some really interesting aspects or attributes about this specific hitch that make it different than some of the other Bulletproof hitches, but let's get this thing unboxed so you can see what it's all about. Okay, so I'm actually using the WaySafe shank to prop up this Bulletproof hitch. This thing is pretty insane. And let's talk about the specs real quick and you'll find out why. So of all the other hitches that are kind of back there in the corner, the B&W and the WaySafe hitches have the highest capacities. The WaySafe is rated at 22,000 pounds total towing capacity and 2,200 pounds of hitch weight capacity for their steel version. The B&W is 21,000 pounds total towing capacity and 2,100 pounds total hitch weight capacity. So in front of you, you were looking at the Bulletproof hitches. This is the 2-ball, the 2 and the 2 5/16 inch ball. This is 7 1/4 inch drop, 7 1/4 inch rise if you flip this thing around. And this is rated at 36,000 pounds. You heard me right. 36,000 pounds worth of towing capacity and 6,000 pounds worth of tongue weight capacity. That is absolutely insane. That is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a conventional hitch, even a pintle hitch. Well, I think I may have seen a pintle that's rated around there. I think maybe even higher than that. But for a conventional ball style hitch to have that type of capacity is crazy insane. They make a sway control attachment, they make a pintle attachment, they make a step, they make all sorts of accessories for this, but this is the basic setup. Now, the specific one you're looking at falls under their Extreme line. So they have a standard, a heavy duty, and then an Extreme version of their hitches, and this is the highest rated. Now, traditionally, or I guess typically, on their Extreme line, if you get one that has a higher drop or rise to it, it's actually going to have another shank like this, a solid shank that comes down right here, and then you'll have the gusset coming off the back of it. And those weigh near 100 pounds. They're insanely heavy. This right here is about 50 pounds. It is really, really heavy, very heavy duty. So in the past, whenever you looked at, you know, super heavy duty robust hitch assemblies, you really would kind of eye yourself towards Gen Y. B&W's big claim to fame is their tow and stow capability, the ability for you to flip it around and keep it out of the way. This one doesn't necessarily have that type of flexibility, but what you can do is you can pop these pins out, remove this assembly right here, and nobody really has access to it anymore. So if you want to keep maybe this part inside of your vehicle, you could do that and it would give you very similar capabilities in terms of stowing it. The difference, though, in stowing it would be the fact that this has the big gusset coming off the back of it, which would require this to stick out a little further off the bumper of your vehicle than something like a B&W or even some of the other hitches that I've shown. So what I want to do now real quick is go over some of the specs of this, because I know a lot of people are going to want to figure out why this is going to have such a higher capability than some of the others. But one thing to keep in mind, though, is from a construction perspective, there are some similarities with some of the other hitches and shanks that don't have such an extreme towing capability, such as the WaySafe hitch or shank that's behind it right here. This also is a solid steel assembly. And you know, I sometimes wonder if you took something like that and you tested it to the standards of something like this, if it would hold up. I don't have the capability of doing that, so I really couldn't tell you one way or the other. But then again, in terms of comparison, the ratings on this are so much higher than any of the others. It's really hard to say what you could do to test this thing out in a way that would truly stress it out. Whenever you look at just the shank assembly, whenever you look at the head assembly, this portion right here, you can see how it looks like this is a solid piece of steel with plate steel on each side of it, and it's fully welded all the way around. Now, this whole assembly is powder coated in this extreme powder coating. It appears to be much thicker than any of the other hitches, any of them, and you can feel it. It feels very thick, very rough in terms of the overall finish, even the ball. I kind of wonder how long the finish will last on the ball if you have a really heavy trailer or you're just towing a lot with it. So that would be kind of interesting to find out. In terms of the channel right here, this channel is 5/16 inch thick. You have a 1/2 inch thick piece of steel welded right there. And then the balls and everything are welded to the platform right here as well. So these aren't removable. You have to remove this entire assembly. Overall, though, this thing is an absolute beast. It is a monster of a hitch. And, you know, I can't really imagine what type of trailer that you would need to max something like this out, because I think the limitation at that point is, would they really put a 2 5/16 inch ball coupler on some of these trailers? So, for instance, our dump trailer is derated down to 12,000 pounds, but it's built to 20,000, almost 20,000, 19,000 pounds. There's some other conventional trailers that I've seen that are also in that same range. But whenever you go much higher than that, you typically are going to start seeing pintle hitches. You're going to see a whole different type of coupler design up here. And this can support a pintle. So, you know, in reality, you probably could use this for that type of application. But yeah, this thing is super cool, super robust, crazy heavy duty. Okay, so I know people are going to be interested in what the weight of this is. And before we take it out and install it on the back of the truck, let's go ahead and weigh it on the Celoton scale. All right, total weight 46 pounds, which, you know, if you try to weigh this against some of the other hitches I have, it is significantly heavier. So for instance, like the B&W hitch, I believe weighs at like 31 pounds. Let's see. So we're 32 pounds for the B&W. 28 pounds for this hitch, and this is kind of similar in terms of the look, cosmetically. Construction-wise, not nearly as heavy duty, but you can see that the overall design is very similar to the Bulletproof. And then check out how heavy this WaySafe shank is. 28 pounds for just the shank assembly itself. The Gen Y is at 40 pounds for this assembly, but one of the reasons why Gen Y hitches weigh so much is because of this multiple shank style adapter where you have all these receivers that they build even though you're not using them. Now for weighing just this portion of the Bulletproof, that weighs 16 pounds just for that portion. And then the shank, 30 pounds for the shank. So interestingly enough, it's only 2 pounds heavier than the WaySafe shank. And the WaySafe shank is a lot smaller. So the combination of both of those weighs 58 pounds. So the WaySafe steel version of their shank is actually pretty dang heavy and close to the Bulletproof. Okay, so now we're back here behind my truck. Like I told you before, I have the WaySafe hitch that's currently in here. And what's kind of crazy is that This assembly feels like it weighs very similar in terms of overall weight to this assembly. So yeah, we're gonna pull this one out. And this is not the solid shank version. And from a ratings perspective, this one is actually been re-rated to like 22,000 pounds. You know, weight-wise, they feel pretty similar in terms of overall weight. So it's actually kind of interesting how heavy the WaySafe product is when you're looking at it from a steel shank and steel hitch assembly perspective. If you're looking at the aluminum version, it's like 16 pounds for the whole thing, even the largest setup. So yeah, huge difference in weight when it's steel versus aluminum. But you know, I'm kind of a fan of steel when it comes to hitches. I don't know if I could trust myself moving to an aluminum hitch, honestly. All right, so we have this portion in now, and I'm gonna set it back as far as I can, which would be right around here. And then the ball assembly, depending on the height that you need, you can change it in 2-inch increments. So if you put it right here, that's gonna be 2 inches higher than if I set it right here. And again, 2 inches higher if I set it right here. Put top pin in, or the bottom pin. I don't think there's any particular order that you have to install them. And then you simply pop your pin in right here. So a few quick observations about this setup. It's certainly a very, very beefy setup. I know you probably see some movement right here, but the forward reducer actually moves in the 3-inch slot more than the hitch moves inside of the 2.5-inch opening, if that makes sense. You can see this part right here moving more, and that's actually the Ford equipped 2.5-inch reducer. So there's not really a lot of movement inside of the 2.5-inch opening. So the shank is built really, really, or at least it's cut in a way that fits really, really well. Probably better tolerances than I've seen on most shanks inside of factory receivers. But again, that's this piece moving inside of here, not the shank moving inside of there. Very, very, very nice fit. And what I really like is you even have minimal movement right here inside of the channel. So this is another area where you have to get your tolerances really, really right. Now, this is one of my first observances. It sticks out rather far. It sticks out a lot further than the WaySafe. I'm going to say it's probably about 10 inches off the back of the receiver to the very back of your hitch setup. And that's quite a bit. Now, of course, I could remove this assembly right here, and it would be a lot closer in, and I'd only have this out. But whenever I'm towing, it's going to stick back a little further. But this is, you know, very similar to what you might see even on like a Gen Y, where it sticks back quite far because you have all those individual receiver slots for it. I'm personally a fan of hitches that don't take up a lot of space back here. I know some people love this whole look of having this giant hitch hanging off the back of their truck. And in terms of if you're needing something that has these extreme ratings, then something like this might not bother you at all. In some cases, it can actually benefit you because it allows you to lower your tailgate without the tailgate hitting the tongue jack on your trailer because it positions the tongue jack further back. But this assembly is pretty dang massive, very, very robust. I don't know of any true way I can test this thing out, to be honest. When I first, wanted to review this product, I was really wanting to find a way to torture test it. But I don't really think there's any way I could truly torture test something like this because I don't have any piece of equipment that even comes close to the weight of this hitch, or at least what the weight ratings of this hitch are. And again, this is their extreme version, so it's got a 36,000 pound maximum towing capacity and a 6,000 pound hitch weight capacity, which is absolutely insane. Anyways, guys, if you are looking for the most insane, most ridiculously high-rated conventional tow hitch you can buy on the market, I believe this is it. Bulletproof Hitches. This thing is super, super robust, incredibly heavy, incredibly well built. The tolerances are fantastic. It's packaged well. And yeah, if you want to be the master of the hitches going down the road, this is the one you're probably going to want to take a look at. And it's also a relatively expensive hitch, so keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, this was provided to me for review and evaluation from the good folks over at eTrailer, my official channel sponsor. I'll put a link in the description if this is something you may be interested in. If you want to get it as a gift, you want to get the biggest, baddest hitch you can possibly buy for a vehicle, this would be it. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.